So part of our initiative here at Golden Standard and King's Council is to bring in wisdom keepers who have a message, we're doing positive things in this world, we're claiming their kingdom. And first week we had Brother James Tung gave some stirring speeches, and I couldn't think of a better man to honor the container, and to masculinity, and to brotherhood. So without further ado, I honor you, brother, I love you, I see you. Keep honoring.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Those who do not know me, my name is Nicolas Canon. And before we start this conversation, I just want to understand a couple of things. First of all, I would love maybe for you to shout out loud a word or two, literally. Why are you here? What brings you here? Out of everything else you could be doing this evening, you're here. So, why?
Positive connection.
Rebirth.
Exploration. Safe community.
Devotion.
Growth. Inspiration. Community.
Love, relation, humanity,
Balance.
brotherhood,
Home.
Right. No.
Providership.
What is that?
Providership.
Providership. Beautiful. So, home, love, devotion. Now, there are all these qualities that we aim to embody and to connect more with. And usually on the other side of what we ache for lies maybe what we may imagine we lack. So just by a raise of hands, I would love to get a sense of, if you feel comfortable, raise your hand, but I would love to get a sense of who here right now is going through a moment of tension in his romantic relationships. All right. Who here is going through a bit of tension around purpose, finances? Okay. Who here is struggling with health complications? What about feeling spiritually lost, perhaps? Now, I have two more questions for you. And one is, what is a king? We talk a lot about kingship, budding our kingdom, being the kings of our kingdom. What's a king? What makes a king king? And again, just shout a word.
leadership,
Sovereignty.
Humility.
patience, self-governance,
Unity. Accountability and responsibility.
liberty,
Devotion and humility.
Service.
Service. How does a king become a king?
Initiation.
Surrender.
Initiation, surrender,
Perseverance.
perseverance,
Born.
born,
Presence.
presence,
sovereignty,
okay,
Devotion.
Being a king, loyalty, labor, courage, commitment, and honor.
Now, what is something that only the king can do that no other man in that kingdom can?
Rule.
What makes him special?
His people.
Knowing that there's only one active presence of God that's governing all of life.
It's power. Power, people, connection to God.
Your capacity to make to be responsible for the hardest decisions.
Trusted counsel,
Trusted counsel.
relationships around cultivate.
Okay. So I want to invite you to consider a few things tonight. And these are not the truth. These are possibilities. What I mean by this is that what I'm going to share with you is not the way things are, but it's a useful model through which we can look at life and more than that ourselves, and maybe get something out of that. Number one. Number two, I have an invitation for you, and it's this. Once, before I did my first vision quest, one of my buddies, he had like this random book, and I was there thinking, people speak, getting messages, signals from God, from life about stuff like that. I felt alone. I felt like I'm on my own and I'm here to fast and get my minds together, but I've never felt God's hand in my life. And my friend passes me this book, and I just open a random page and I read this little passage that said, to those who have an open heart, to those who are listening, willing to listen, even the whisper of the wind, even the warmth of the sun, or the cold of the night, carry a message from God. But to those unwilling to listen, or arrogant enough to think they're on their own, even God shouting in their ear, will go buffer, you don't touch them. And I realized that the problem was not God or the Creator. The problem was my listening. Very often we want to hear God tell us, this is your mission, this is your purpose, this is what you're here to do, or this is your next step. Like how do I listen to the Creator? I will ignore the creation. And in every moment, in every conversation, in every breath that we take, the song of the divine plays, and we can't listen. We resist listening. So my second invitation to you is that there's two ways of listening. There's the way you listen to your drunk uncle over Christmas dinner, ranting about politics and complaining about life. You're like, There's the way that we listen when we're open, when we're in the presence of someone that we think has something for us. There is a way in which we listen. For those of you that have sat with plant medicines or psychedelics, you could stare at the floor for 3 hours. Your life will change. Why? Because we're listening. We're present. So my invitation is that you bring the level of listening. Because very often we expect for the world to impress us. Let's see what this person has to say. Let's see if God comes and knocks on my door loud enough so I may actually open my ears, my heart, my mind. Not knowing that the listening is where our power lies. Being willing, putting our intention that something this person in front of me, something that this person is going to say, is going to touch my heart, it's going to touch my life. I'm going to be a changed man out of this conversation. Not because of who this man is, not because of who she is, not because of whatever this person has done with their life, but because that's who I am. Because I'm a man that wherever I go, grace, God talks to me, through everybody. That's a choice that we make. So I invite you all to make that choice, not because what I have to say is useful, not because what I have to say is meaningful or powerful, but because you are. Who here would like to join me in that? Right. So there's only one way a king becomes a king. There's only one thing that a king can do that no other man can do. A king becomes a king, assuming there was no violence involved, because of his lineage, because his father was a king, because he inherited the throne, because he received. Everybody in the kingdom can connect to God. Everybody can care for his people. Everybody can have some form of power. But only the king gets to appoint the next king. That's it. So what does this mean? What does this have to do with us? Asking our wisdom. So we're one of the first generations that is spiritual orphan. We're spiritual orphans to some degree or another. Because our parents, our fathers, our male kings, some of them fell short of what the ideal would have been. Because our communities were not built around wise elder. Because a lot of these were destroyed. We're part of a generation that was severed, was cut off from that lineage. And I'm not talking about the royal king, but I'm talking about that which we receive from the men that have come before us. And not only that, but if I'm a king, that means I get to exercise what no other man in the kingdom can do. My kingdom, which is to pass the crown, to pass the jewels, to pass the treasure to the next man. This is not about family, this is not about bloodline, but this is about two simple things. A king is a man that has learned to receive. The only self-made kings did so through struggle, through violence, through force. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to play that game. We don't need to play that game. We may have been raised without elder, but we're here for one reason. One thing unifies us. And that is that we want to do things differently. Every single one of you in here, there are men that are your elder. It can be a friend that shared a word with you that touched, that you brought home and share with your family, with your friends. And there's many of you here that have shared the word with another man here that touched them. That's what it means to be a king. To receive, to be nourished by the treasures that those older than us sometimes collected. But it doesn't stop there. So what happens and what I see, there's a lot of it here, and I've talked to many of you, is that we all want to step into the role of a king, but there's many of you that are hoarders of your treasure. There's so much life has given you. Oh, but Nico, my life has been nothing but pain. What a gift. So much you've received. So much. Not in vain. I hope. So much you have learned. So much wisdom you have cultivated. And yet, oh, I need one more podcast. I'm afraid to pull my fucking phone and look at it and say a couple of words. What will people gonna think about me? Some people will be starving if you hadn't had the courage or the heart to think about others and more about yourself. What the person that loves us gonna think about me coming and asking for food? Like, many of you here are hoarding treasures. There's so much you have learned, so much you have gathered, so much life has given you, so much you have received, and yet, let me wait a little bit longer. Really, kings die alone, and their kingdoms vanish and perish, and they're forgotten. Now say it's not being kingship, it's being pirates, taking, ravaging. I take from the women, I take from the men, I take from my mentors. For me, I give nothing back. Every single one of you has so much treasure you're sitting on. Your elder, the men around you, your parents, however conscious or unconscious, have given you. Whether it was good care, good nourishment, good water, good fertilizer for your seed, or whether it was a bunch of shit that made it grow even prettier, faster, sweeter fruits. You've received so much. We have received so much. And yet, what are people going to think about it? I'm not ready yet. The biggest brainwashing that has happened in today's world is that men were convinced they're not enough, not good enough. And women, that they're too much. Or women are too much and men are not good enough. Where does that leave us? Never hope. Never embracing the fact that this moment is perfect, I am perfect. I can grow, sure. I can expand. There's more to grow. There's more I can receive from the men that came before me. There's more to inherit. But also there's just so much that I can give already. A tree doesn't wait until it has roots before it starts sharing the oxygen that it produces with the world. Yet many of us wait until we have the perfect thing before we share what we have received. Many of you are sitting on gold, literal piles of gold that have taken generations of trauma, of suffering, of war, of conflict, that have taken you perhaps decades of suffering to amass, to gather. And yet, what are people going to think about it? And yet, you waste your time, you fear taking up space. You fear recognizing the power that lies within you. Being a king is receiving with open arms that which life has gifted us, the treasure that our elder have passed to us. But our role is not complete if we don't pass it on. If we hoard all that we have, then the food is just rotting in our fridges, the fridges of our heart. What's that food? Not the wisdom, the beauty, and if nothing else, the love, the being able to sit next to a suffering man and say, fuck man, I don't know how to help you, but I feel you, and I'm here with you. Nothing else. So I want you to remember one thing. You take only one thing from what I have shared, is that the apples from the apple tree were never meant for the tree to eat. Never. Thank you.
Next to Nico. Follow up.